There we go. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks again for jumping on. My name is Matt Cornwell. I work directly in the Saunders College of Business within our IT. So I actually work directly in the college. I don't actually work in admission. So I work with all of our programs, all of our grad and actually undergrad programs. So from a business perspective, we certainly can connect further, obviously, as the session and days move forward. But tonight we'll jump into some information on our MBA and MS programs, give kind of an overview of that. And then I actually have my colleague, Emily McHugh, on as well. So Emily's going to jump into the EMBA program for folks that might be interested in that. So she's going to dive into some details on that. And Emily, if you just want to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily McHugh. I'm the Senior Admissions Officer for the Executive MBA programs. So I am the first point of contact for everyone that shows interest in the program, and I basically will tell them everything they want to know. And once they've made that decision, I walk them through the process of the application and I'm with them through and up until orientation. So I'll speak more about the program a little bit later, as Matt said.
Yes, thank you, Emily. So Emily's going to jump in towards the end with some info on the program as well. I think the thing I really want to stress about tonight's session is that it is a high level overview. There's only so much, obviously, we can get into. So we have a lot of programs under our portfolio. So I'm going to give kind of a high level conceptual understanding of what each program looks like. Dive as deep as I can into some of the curricular pieces, but really just the highlights and some of the differentiators of each program. And then certainly we'll open it up for Q&A at the end. If you do have questions that you want answered as we're going, definitely use the chat feature. Jump in, don't hesitate to use that. And then at the end, if you want to unmute yourself, we can definitely, vocalize questions as we go from there. But I'm open to fielding questions as we work through this. So let's jump in here. So the first piece, I just want to give a quick overview of Saunders in the College of Business itself and kind of set the landscape of what the college looks like. So one of the big things to keep in mind particularly if you're looking at multiple business schools, is the accreditation piece. So that AACSB accreditation is something that can be valuable. So only 5% of business schools hold that accreditation. And that's actually the international accreditation as well. So it stands for the Association of Advanced Collegiate Schools of Business. So that is something, some bigger companies in particular may actually look for students that are coming directly from an AACSB school. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Saunders is one of the smaller colleges at RIT. So RIT as a whole has about 17,000 students total across all of our programs, including PhD and grad programs. Saunders, we have about 1,100 total. So that kind of gives you a sense of, we are a small college within a larger university. We're the 12th largest private school in the country. So we are a large private school from that measure, more of a medium-sized school when you consider state schools, but still we are a good size. So there's plenty of benefits to that, from that close kind of attention you get from faculty, but also you can walk outside those doors and get those benefits of a larger, school from that perspective in terms of the resources. So there's some things I'll highlight with respect to that as we go forward, but I think it's important to understand kind of the size and the scope of what Saunders looks like. From a grad school standpoint and student-wise, we have about 330 grad students roughly. About 30% of those, that figure is probably closing in more in the 40% range now from an international student standpoint. So we've expanded some of our offerings from a STEM degree perspective, which is enticing for international students, as I'm sure many of you guys on the calls that know that and are familiar with that. So we're probably about 30% there. We have a really strong group of faculty, full-time faculty. Those are the folks that are teaching the classes. We don't really rely on teaching assistants at all, really, across any of our programs. We do have adjunct faculty here and there, but that's one thing to keep in mind as well, is that really our full-time faculty are the ones that are teaching, really both at the undergrad and grad level. TAs aren't really relied on from that standpoint. And then we are diverse from the standpoint of, countries represented, that type of stuff. Our MBA program was established in about 1968. And then from an alumni perspective, sorry, I'm getting some background from somebody here. All right, I think we're good now. Sorry about that. So from an alumni perspective, I think we're actually up to 20,000 alumni roughly. So that's another thing that you can certainly leverage as you go forward from those connection points. We weave in alumni in a variety of different ways, whether it's, mentorship opportunities, or we have industry advisory boards associated with each of our programs as well. So we get a really good sense of how we should be incorporating real-time information from those industries into our curriculum. So, that's another piece as well. So these are just some of the rankings. I certainly want to call it and notice there, the online MBA program, that's the EMBA. So it's a top 10 online program from an EMBA perspective. So it's a really, really strongly regarded program. So I think those are things that are important to keep in mind going forward. Our MIS program, so you see that ranking, that actually climbed to number 3 in the country just this week. So we are very proud of that. That's something our IT does very well from a business technology perspective and integrating those two sides of the house. That is an undergrad program. However, the same faculty are teaching in the grad programs, and they also were the ones that worked to develop our MS degree in business analytics. So there's some overlap with MIS and business analytics. So they were a big part of that. And then that grad school ranking, I actually think that's up to number 89 now. So it did climb a little bit, but you can look at those. These are things I'm not going to spend a ton of time on, but it does put, it just puts into scope kind of what we're doing and where we're at with those from a national perspective. And then our Office of Student Services, that's where I work in. So that's the role you have. You'll see there's 2 graduate academic advisors that we have in our program as well. So you'll be assigned a specific staff member if you're ultimately accepted and admitted to the program to work with you from a registration standpoint and getting you geared up to go for the program. And then Peggy Terrell is a key point person, really from the standpoint of your application comes in, she works with the program directors to review it in conjunction with them. And then you'll actually likely hear from her as well from an acceptance standpoint and a decision perspective, particularly domestic students. We try and call all domestic students. And then we do try and, to the best of our ability, contact international students if we can by phone. A lot of times that has to be virtual and by email, but so she's a key point person, and you'll likely hear from her as well, from the outset and really through the whole program. She's a key person from that standpoint. And then the other thing too, I mentioned I don't work directly in grad admissions. So your contact from an admissions perspective is Delaney Ball. So Delaney works with students from a application perspective to get everything in, ensure your materials are in, and then he'll actually once everything's good to go, you hit that check mark, he'll be the one to send it over to us for review. And then once we get the application, it takes 2 to 3 weeks at most to get a decision around. And honestly, a lot of times it doesn't take that long, but that's just a rough time frame there. All right, so from a program standpoint, you can see there's a ton of stuff listed here. So I think the first thing to start with is the difference between an MBA and an MS degree. An MBA is a generalist degree by nature. So it's almost like a T, the traditional MBA, and I'll let Emily speak to the EMBA as we get down to the end of the session. But from a traditional MBA standpoint, our curriculum is set up in a way where you're getting exposed to a multitude of different areas of business: finance, accounting, marketing, management information systems, data analytics, and then you elect a concentration. So that's where that deeper dive within the T would come in terms of diving deeper. Most of the concentrations are about the 3 to 5 courses. A lot of students will incorporate some other electives just to make it a 5-course sequence with a concentration. So that's really the structure of what an MBA is all about. It is a generalist degree. We have the accelerated 4+1. So for students that are at RIT, or students that are 4+1 partner schools, or even students that have studied domestically at a domestic institution that isn't one of our partner schools, we have about 20 partner schools, we can look at your undergrad business curriculum and we can waive certain foundational courses in our MBA. So an example of that is managerial financial accounting. Those are very common courses taken as an undergrad business student. You pair those 2 classes together, and that waives the corresponding foundational accounting course in our MBA. So the MBA traditionally is 48 credits, but it can be pared down all the way to 30 credits to condense the program down to just +1 year. Now, like I said, you can waive up to 6 courses, but it's not an all or nothing proposition. We have a segment of students that come in with no course waivers, which isn't a bad thing. Backgrounds in sociology, psychology, history, public relations. We have a major in that, all different areas. Engineering. Some engineering students are able to work in a business minor, but If you don't have any business background, that's okay. You take those foundational courses and that gets you geared up and ready to go in and dive deeper into a concentration area or whatever you want to focus on. If you do have those business courses, again, we can work to waive some of those classes. And again, we can waive anywhere from 0 to 6. So it's, if you have 1, that's great. If you have 2, great. But we can do from anywhere from that segment. And you can do it full-time or part-time. So that's an option as well. Full-time typically is about 12 credits per semester. Part-time is usually 6. So 4 courses versus 2. We do have an MBA in accounting program. So that is for students who have no background in accounting. Typically, those are the students driven to that program and are looking to shift careers into accounting. That's probably our smallest program. There's a few students here and there that pursue it, but it ultimately allows you not only to pursue that career, but also sets you up to sit for the CPA exam, even if you have no background in accounting. It's an extensive program, very lengthy, 72 credits because of those CPA requirements and the requirements to sit for that exam, but it could be a good fit if you're looking for a career change. And then I mentioned the EMBA, we'll dive into that a little bit later. And then you can see the listing of the MS degrees there. And again, I'll spend a little bit of time on each one as we go forward, but those, again, are discipline specific degrees that, just you're able to dive deeper into that content area. And that's the content area you're focusing on. So business analytics, you're going to take upwards of 10 courses, sometimes not entirely depending on electives and what you want to work in, but the majority of the program is analytical based classes. That's really what your focus is. And again, some of these are STEM designated, which I'll highlight here as we go forward as well. So the other thing before I dive deeper into the programs are some scholarship incentives that we have for our MBA and MS programs. This is excluding the EMBA. So we partner with honors students at RIT, and those students, if they're fully accepted, get a 60% tuition scholarship. Also, RIT recently launched an extension to the graduating seniors master plan. Now, this hasn't been officially announced, but I've been told I can share it with students. Last year, we announced this for students who started in fall 2020. They've extended that to fall 2021. And also any student, if you're looking at spring 2021, we're kind of in a tight spot for that, or summer 2021, you can get a 55% tuition scholarship to stay on and pursue a degree at RIT if you graduate from an RIT program. It's any program. You obviously have to be accepted to the program, but that is an incentive they built in. So that is something you could certainly pursue, and it's automatic. If you're admitted, you're going to get that scholarship. So that's a really nice incentive RIT has done for its own students. Another thing we just kind of launched again, we did this last year, but we kind of extended it again this year that we recently just decided to do. We have our 4+1 partner schools. I mentioned 20 of those. A lot of those are in New York State. We have one in Pennsylvania, some SUNY schools, things like that. But for those students, we're actually giving a 40% tuition scholarship to all 4+1 partner students. Okay, so that's another thing. And that, again, is available for the terms upcoming. And most of you, I'm sure, are looking at a term, potentially maybe spring, but also probably fall 2021 or maybe summer too. But fall 2021 tends to be obviously the biggest interest area that we get students looking at for next year. But those are students as well from a scholarship perspective that you can look at. All other populations, you're like, oh, I don't fit any of those. That's okay. We still consider students for scholarships. That's an automatic process. When you apply, you're automatically considered for those scholarships. It's wrapped into the application process. So those scholarships range anywhere from typically 20% to 50% of tuition, okay? They're merit-based. We look at your undergrad performance on the GMAT or GRE, your personal statement, resume, work experience. We don't require work experience really for any of our programs, but if you have some, it can play in your favor. Internship experience, co-op experience. So all of those things are factored in. The other thing I want to mention as well is regarding research assistantship. So this is something that's fairly new that we're exploring this year. And I actually just got off a call yesterday about this, but we are looking at launching some research assistantships in collaboration with our faculty. So these opportunities, we're still flushing this out a little bit. So we're in the early stages, but these opportunities will be available to students, and we will actually be the ones offering those. So as you're admitted, we're going to make offers on research assistantships. They're going to be limited. I expect maybe 5 to 8 of those positions to be available. So they are probably going to be limited, but those positions usually lend themselves to a stipend, and you actually get a chance to work closely with the faculty on research. We also have other positions we call them grad student worker positions. They're somewhat similar to assistantships, but somewhat not. So I have a grad student worker. She's actually on the call tonight, a current student that works with me on stuff from a recruitment perspective. But we also have other administrative positions, or you might work with faculty on things that might align with research, but other maybe administrative tasks. So those are positions that are available too. Those are typically hourly positions that are paid a certain rate for the work that you complete. So we definitely have some of that available as well. And again, those aren't scholarships, but they are, additional funding opportunities that, again, aren't tuition specific, but they are things that, put money in your pocket from that standpoint as well. Okay, so the MBA format, I did mention this, but there are 10 core business courses within our MBA. Really, it's 11 with the capstone. And then there's 3 concentration courses and 2 graduate electives. So again, I mentioned a lot of students will extend their concentration from 3 to 5 courses because of those additional graduate electives. And again, all of this obviously equates to 16 courses, 48 credits in totality. And so the program from that perspective, you have a set number of classes and specific classes you have to do, but then from that point, those 5 courses, you really have the opportunity to customize those and seek out what you want to focus on. And we have a number of concentrations, and I'll go to that slide now in terms of what's available. This isn't an exhaustive list, but it's pretty close. The other thing with the MBA that I do want to mention, I lost my train of thought here. Oh, right. So with the concentration, so we have concentrations that are both within the College of Business, but a few that are outside as well. So engineering management, that's a very popular one that engineering students may just leverage as a concentration in the MBA rather than going to the MS degree in engineering management. Sustainability, that's one I've had a couple students pursue that. And then project management's really under our umbrella, entrepreneurship as well. But you can see a number of those popular ones within business. MIS is definitely one. Business analytics is a really popular one as well. Digital marketing, entrepreneurship, those are common ones that students often focus on. And then for international students, while our MBA isn't currently STEM designated, we are hoping that by next year it will be. Now, I can't say for certain that's going to happen with COVID and with where things stand with the New York State Department of Education, but we are working towards a STEM designation for the MBA. And for international students that aren't familiar with what that is, it gives you an opportunity to extend your OPT by 2 years, giving you the chance to stay in the US for up to 3 years to work directly in the US. A traditional program without the STEM designation only allows you to stay in the US for 1 year. Okay, so that's something else to keep in mind as well. And that's something, again, we hope it's there by next year, but it may not be. So we're kind of playing that by ear, but it is coming. So now to dive into some of our MS programs, again, spend a couple minutes on each and kind of just highlight some of the pieces. But we currently have 4 STEM designated MS programs. The first is our MS degree in global supply chain management. This is a new program as of fall of 2020. So it took place of our MS in management degree. So we always had supply chain components built into the MS in management degree, but we wanted to accentuate that focus on supply chain management. So we shifted gears and have been focusing specifically on that within this degree. It is a 12-month, 30-credit program. Now, most of our MS degrees are 12 months, 30 credits. When I say 12 months, that's 3 semesters. So it includes summer. So it's fall, spring, summer. So almost all of our programs are structured in that way. So you are there. It's a full year. It's not just a fall and spring endeavor, except for MS in accounting. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. The focus of this program is kind of twofold. So obviously supply chain, that's the coursework you're focusing on, but the intricacies of that are the global component of supply chain. So that is something we emphasize in the program. We all know business is global, so that is something we focus on. And then the quantitative and analytical side of supply chain as well. So there's an awesome supply chain analysis course where you literally are looking at various supply chains and analyzing the different components of those in determining best practices, decision making, what goes into that, and how to optimize those processes. Okay, so that's another piece that, you know, our curriculum, we really try and weave in that analytical focus in most of our programs. So that is something to keep in mind with this particular program. But it is a STEM program, and it is again 12 months, 30 credits, so it can be done in just that singular year. And 30 credits equates to 10 courses. All right, so this is another new, I label it new. It's not really new, it's just kind of a revamped program. So we've always had an MS degree that had an entrepreneurial focus, but we wanted to shift gears a little bit to something that was more focused on the technical side of entrepreneurship. So this program essentially has 2 tracks to it. And again, it is STEM designated. And you select one track within that. So technology management, really tailored to students who are, or professionals who are working in an already established company, but their emphasis and focus in their job is technology management and the technology needs of that company. So I've worked with students in the past who are working on developing technical products, kind of innovation management type of positions where you're working on developing those different areas and whatnot. So there's a good draw there for students, but also if you're looking to start your own business or you're looking to leverage maybe a product idea or something to that effect, there is a technical entrepreneurship track as well, again, geared towards folks that may want to go and are young, uprising business owners. Okay, so that's the other track within this program. There's strong ties to our Simone Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship within this program. That's, there's an incubator in that program. There's opportunities to work on your business idea outside of the program. And I'll dive a little deeper into that towards the end, but there are some really strong ties there as well. So this program has some good entrenchment from an entrepreneurial perspective and that technical component of entrepreneurship, which RIT does very well. Entrepreneurship, it's ingrained in the culture at RIT. So that is something to keep in mind as well. And again, 12 months, 30 credits. So it's another 12-month program. So MS in accounting, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because it's very specific to undergrad students who want to pursue accounting careers. It is designed for students who have at least 15 credits, undergraduate credits in accounting, and those who want to sit for the CPA exam. Now, most students have an undergrad degree in accounting when they pursue this degree. It's just kind of what the program's tailored to. But if you only have those 15 credits, it is possible to pursue this degree. The biggest thing with our accounting programs across the board is the focus on the MIS and the technical side and the analytical side of accounting. That's what we hear from accounting firms, the big 4 accounting firms, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC. They come to us and say, we're picking your accounting students because of their technical focus. So that's what this program focuses on. And actually we're working, you can see at the bottom here, on an accounting and analytics degree, an MS degree, that should be coming here soon. Again, New York State is reviewing that program currently. But again, we want to emphasize that focus on the technical aspects of accounting. So that's really what we do well with this program. You can see some of the highlighted coursework. This is the only 9-month program, so it can actually be done in 2 semesters. So you do 5 courses in the fall and 5 in the spring. And we do have, for our own accounting students who do an undergrad degree in accounting or students that transfer in, we do have a BS MS program that actually accelerates that. There's some strong scholarship opportunities, tuition matching for our undergrad versus grad program. So that is something, if there's any undergrad accounting students on the call that are specific to Saunders, that we could look at as well. That's an enticing offer for Saunders students. And then our MS degree in finance. So again, this one really geared towards those folks who are looking at finance careers. So corporate and investment and portfolio management, those types of careers in finance. This is a 12-month, 31 credit program. Again, in this program is designed to prepare folks for the CFA exam. So if you want to sit for the Chartered Financial Analyst exam, this is an opportunity in a program that might be a good fit for you. And this program is also working towards a STEM designation for international students. So it's not currently STEM designated, but again, we're hopeful we'll have that in the next year and a half, and in place for that. And again, you can see here some of the highlighted coursework. This program, the nice thing with this one is 60% of it is elective. So you really have a lot of opportunity to pick and choose what you want to focus on and what you want to leverage going forward. So the third of our 4 STEM designated programs is computational finance. This is an interdisciplinary program that integrates math, finance, and technology. So you have to have a very strong math background. If you were a math major, studied things like linear algebra, upper level calculus classes, those types of mathematical components, this could be a very good program fit for you. There's a financial mathematics course in this. But folks who are looking at a career in computational finance, think financial engineers. You are the folks that are working on the back end to develop those algorithmic and those investment type models that folks are using. You understand the programming, computer programming that goes into that. That's another important piece of this, the mathematics that go into building something like that. And that's what your focus is on. So again, a lot of folks that pursue careers in this are termed financial engineers. So that's something that if you have that strong math background and you're like, hey, I think finance could be a good area for me, this could be a good fit for you from that standpoint. And this is a 12-month, 36 credit program. So it does have a couple extra classes, but you still can finish this program in that 12-month time frame. So that fall, spring, summer kind of sequence as well. And then MS Business Analytics. So this is the fourth of our STEM programs. It's our largest MS degree currently. So it is 12-month, 30 credits, and it's all about data. So it's from a business perspective, looking at the strategies that go into the collecting that data, formulating, collecting it, from a computer programming standpoint, understanding the R and Python, those languages and what goes into that, using data visualization tools like Tableau, all those things are weaved into this program. So it is important within this program coming in that you do have an introductory or intermediate understanding of R or Python and those object-oriented computer programming languages. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind. The other thing that's a key differentiator with this program, it isn't a data analytics program, it is a business analytics program. So you are exploring the different analytical functional areas of business. So there's a marketing analytics course, a financial analytics course, an accounting analytics course. There's an advanced business analytics course where that's where the heavy kind of programming comes into play. So that's something to keep in mind as well, is we're spanning kind of generally across those different areas of analytics, but within the business sphere from that perspective. And then again, this is STEM designated for international students. And we also have a part-time online offering of this program that started in fall 2020. So all of our online programs have a significant tuition discount in comparison to the on-campus charges from a tuition perspective. It's about 43% difference from a tuition. Per credit right now, again, this is no scholarships for the on-campus programs, but we're about $2,089 per credit hour for on-campus. Online, it's about $11.89 per credit hour, roughly, for the online programs. So this is one offering that if you did want to study part-time, you're working, this is often attractive to domestic students that are already employed and working. We have a few students employed from paychecks that are currently pursuing the program. It doesn't have a STEM designation for international students though, because it is online, but that is an offering that you can look at as well. And then the next three programs, I'm going to fire through these ones pretty quickly. These are three programs that we brought over from a different college last year. So they kind of came under the College of Business umbrella last year. So we have a master's in hospitality and tourism management, really designed for folks that are looking to either maybe a career changer, looking to jump into hospitality and tourism management as a career shift, or students who are looking to grow in a management position within hospitality. This is a 12-month, 30 credit program. Really, it's, again, all about, that career growth in that area. The nice thing with these programs that I'm highlighting now is that you actually get a chance to choose and elect within the curriculum a culminating experience as well. So if you want to do a thesis, you can do that. If you want to do a capstone project, there's an option to do that, or you can take a comprehensive exam. So they actually give you a chance to kind of have that culminating experience, but your focus is on really analyzing the different functional areas of hospitality and what goes into that. What are some of the areas and contexts within that industry and furthering that career from that standpoint. And then these next two programs, we're actually looking at potentially combining these going forward. I don't think that's going to come to fruition by this fall. So these programs will still be in place as they currently stand. But they also both have online offerings as well. Now, the thing I will say about that, just being upfront, because that's I like to be that way from a curricular standpoint in terms of how things can be structured for you. The optimal way to complete this program from a full-time perspective is a hybrid model of incorporating online and in-person classes. These are two of our smaller programs, 8 to 10 students, and that's still good. The enrollment in those programs is still solid, but the reality is it's tricky to offer 2 sections of a course, one online, one in person. So taking it in a hybrid format can be the optimal way for these programs in terms of completing them on a full-time basis. So service leadership and innovation, again, 12-month, 33 credit program, really designed for any industry in terms of looking at transforming that organization from an innovative perspective, different leadership components that are built into it, problem solving, projecting the future. Again, there's an analytical based course in this from a service perspective. So analyzing the different service sectors within your organization and how to optimize those. So there's a variety of different good curricular components built into this program as well. I almost liken it to change management. That's really kind of the focus of some of the courses and content. And again, it is online or on campus. So there is that opportunity as well. And then human resource development, this one fairly self-explanatory for those folks that are looking at either, again, furthering careers in HR or jumping into a HR field. The development piece of this is key. So oftentimes there's MS degrees in HR development or HR management. The development piece I think is key because you're looking at designing programs to retain your top talent within your organization. That's one of the key components of this program in terms of how do you go about developing solid professional development opportunities, incentives for your top employees to say that aren't just strictly based on pay, what benefits, what things can you allow students to, or allow employees to grow in their careers. And that's ultimately the focus of this. And ultimately, staying on par with those organizational goals. And again, an online or on campus offering is an option in this program. So I'm going to fire through these next slides pretty quickly so we can get to the EMBA stuff here. And this is just high level stuff for folks that aren't super familiar with RIT. Our outcomes rate is very strong, 94%. It's actually 97% roughly in our grad programs. So that's defined as within 3 to 6 months of graduation, students either have a job in their discipline or are studying for an advanced degree. So RIT's average is about 95%, and that's because of our co-op program. So a lot of this data is undergrad specific, but if you want to pursue a co-op at the graduate level in our traditional programs, you can do that. Okay, so that is an option. It looks differently from program to program. Within the MBA, it's optional. Within our comp finance degree and our business analytics degree, there's actually what we call business analytics experience or comp finance experience where you can actually substitute a co-op in. So there's some ways in which you can work that in. I would say 20 to 30% of students do a co-op. It's not a huge number, but oftentimes it's enticing for international students to get that experience and work that stuff in. But from a career standpoint, you'll have a co-op coordinator, career coordinator that'll work with you. His name's Julian Hennerfroth. So he works with all of our grad students. We have on-campus career fairs each year, actually each semester. We did those virtually this year. Employer interviews, recruiter opportunities, and then we actually do have some boutique career fairs as well. So there's an accounting specific career fair that actually weaves in some MIS employers as well, and analytical employers that are looking for those kind of data analyst type of positions. So there's some of that as well from a boutique career standpoint. But I've worked at many institutions. RIT's career support is second to none. There's so much from that perspective that is offered, and oftentimes that's number one why folks choose RIT because of that. And then entrepreneurial, I mentioned some of this. So the Simone Center is a program and a center that is tied to pretty closely to Saunders. It's kind of external of Saunders because anybody within RIT can pursue, endeavors within that. But we have an accelerator program. So you can actually apply to the accelerator program, get an opportunity to work on your business venture and idea, secure funding, work towards that and ultimately leverage that in a team-based setting. We have Tiger Tank competition, business plan competitions. We have an incubator. So if you have a really, really strong idea that can be taken to that next level, only a small number of companies make it to that from the accelerator program to the incubator, but that is an opportunity. So there's some really strong funding there. We also have a consulting group. So you may see consulting in some of your classes, but we also have a Saunders consulting group outside of the kind of normal curricular endeavors that you'll go through. So some students will work with companies in a number of different areas, whether it's a marketing plan for a company, a business plan. We've worked with a variety of companies on stuff like that. And there is a construct also for rapid prototyping, a makerspace. So if you do have kind of a specific product that you're looking at and want some 3D printing done, you can do that as well. So I mentioned those resources there are there from a large institution perspective. So that is certainly something that can be leveraged as well. All right, so at this point, I'm going to come back to the application requirement piece because I want Emily to jump in here. So I'm going to turn it over to her for the EMBA component as well.
All right, thanks, Matt. So the executive MBA program is pretty different from the traditional MBA, and sometimes people can get a little confused. So one of the biggest differences is that we are a cohort-based program. So we're very small and intimate, which is one of the reasons why we're highly ranked. So in terms of the student profile and what we're looking for is that it's meant for mid-career professionals that are working full-time jobs. So they are working full-time while they're completing this program at the same time. So you get about a 50-50 ratio of male to female, and everybody in the class it's very selective on how we choose the students because we welcome diversity in industry. We get a fair amount of business, IT, engineers, healthcare, and they all come into this program for several different reasons. So 2/3 of our students, they're either in some type of a managerial or executive level role, and they kind of want to get into that C-suite position. So they use this degree for that purpose. And then the other third, they're made up of people that are leadership potential, but they're individual contributors and they want to get to that next step, or they just want to make a career change. We've had people that are lawyers that come into this program and they want to become project managers. So there really is something for everybody. You have to have at least 6 years of experience in order to be eligible for this program. So that's something I do want to emphasize in that part. And your undergrad degree can come from any field. It doesn't have to be specific to business. If you don't have a background in business, it does not mean that you won't be successful in this program. The average age of our student is 38, but we do get a fair amount of people in their late 20s as well as up into their mid 50s. And then the average years of experience actually is about 12 years, even though we only require 6. If you want to go to the next slide. Oh, perfect. So for this program, it's very much these people that join this program, it's career focused. These, they want to work hard. It's a rigorous program and I don't sugarcoat that. So we have 2 formats. We have an on-campus option and we also have a fully online option. It is, I mean, you're hitting the ground running with this program because it's quick. So if you choose the on-campus option, it only takes 15 months and we have 1 start in August. And then if you choose the online program, we have 2 starts. We have an August, and then we also have a January start. And that program is 17 months. Both versions are exactly the same curriculum-wise. It just takes a little bit longer for the online just due to the delivery. But you want to work hard and you need to be willing to work hard. So I always tell people to make sure they have the support of their spouses, whoever is close with them, because we want to make sure that everybody's on board in this process. And I'm not trying to scare you away, but I do want to, put it into perspective that this is a program where you are going to want to work hard and you need to work hard in order to be successful. And then next slide. Perfect. All right, so in terms of the on-campus option, so if you start in August, you'd be completing the program by the following November. And then if you choose the online option, if you started in January, you'd be done by May of the following year. And then if you started in August, you'd be done by December of the following year. And again, this is a cohort-based program. So you are going to be in this cohort with the same students throughout every single course with them. It's small class sizes. And we do that on purpose because we want you to have high accessibility to your faculty as well as the students. We actually consider 1/3 of a learning experience to be from the students that you're in the class with. Excuse me. So with that being said, we don't have any concentrations. So you are going to be completing the same courses throughout the entire program. And then also just kind of to give you an idea of the schedule. So on campus, you'd be meeting 2 weekends a month. So that's Friday and Saturday all day. And that's Friday and Saturday, both days, not alternating. And then with the online option, you're taking 2 classes at a time for 6 weeks. So each class has 1 hour of dedicated instruction time, followed by another hour on another day during the week, which is an office hour session. Both classes have a primary and a secondary instructor. For the class sizes on the online, it's 10 to 15 students. And then for on campus, it's 20 students. So essentially, even though you're only completing 2 classes at a time, once you're, because there's about 18 weeks in a semester, you're technically completing 6 courses in a semester. So it is quick, but you're not taking all 6 at once, if that makes sense. And then there's also an international component. So there is an international trip that you'd be taking in October. So that's in the October month before you graduate. So just a couple months before you graduate is when you'd be going on that trip. And basically when you're on that trip, you are taking a credit bearing course. You're visiting 8 to 10 different businesses. You're also doing different cultural excursions. So it's a mix of fun and hard work, because you're also completing a mini capstone assignment with a business in the country that you're in. We go to a different location every year, and it's not something that we do on a rotational basis. We always pick somewhere different. And it really is a valuable experience for our students. They absolutely love this part of the trip. And then there's also a capstone project that's towards the end of the program. It's the last 5 months of the program, and that is a very applicable project. It pretty much buttons up everything that you've learned throughout the entire program, and you use all of those different concepts while you're solving a real issue with a real company. And you end up presenting your research findings to that company at the end of the degree. And a lot of times the board of that company, they will utilize what you recommend back into their company. So it's a very valuable experience as well. And again, this is very high level. I could talk for hours on this program, but what I'll do is I'll drop my contact information in the chat. And then if you, for some reason, don't get it, just reach out to Matt and he'll point you in the right direction if you want to talk further.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. Can I ask a quick question? So for the online EMBA, do they take the international trip as well? They do, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's combined. So the online and on campus, they merge together for that trip.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. All right. So at this point, I do want to just go back quickly to the application requirements. We still have about 15 minutes for Q&A, so we're doing pretty good on time. And then I am going to ask, I do have a current student on as well. So Baylin Patino, she is a current MS management student. So I am going to ask her to just jump in and introduce herself. And she's actually going to touch on the fellowship program that we have just really briefly. But in terms of the application requirements for, again, our traditional programs, again, as Emily highlighted, the EMBA is a separate entity in terms of that. So, but this is for our traditional programs. And again, it can vary slightly from program to program, but obviously there's an online application. Obviously you need a bachelor's degree, that's self-explanatory. Working knowledge of algebra, statistics, really just some math. We want to see at least a little bit of math in your background. If you don't have it, it's not an end all be all. We work with students. We have some BFA students that have applied in the past that we've worked with to do a stats course before they start if they have no math or something to that effect, or before they graduate, something to that effect. So that is doable. We can work with students if we need to. Obviously official transcripts. Most of our programs require the GMAT or GRE. Okay, that is something to keep in mind. Whereas the EMBA does not because of the work experience requirement. So that is a key differentiator between the two programs. But we do require it predominantly for most of our programs. There's a couple waiver options for RIT students, but external students that are coming outside of RIT, we typically require it. And the only, at this point, and this is likely to change, but the only two programs right now that don't require it are Service Leadership and Innovation and Human Resource Development. But again, that program's merging, so I expect that requirement to come into place as well. Now, I want to stress that that is not the only variable. Like, we review things holistically, okay? That's one part of the process. We're going to look closely at your undergraduate performance. That is something that's certainly, you know, I would say probably 1A at the top of the list. But if you've been out of school for a while, we want to see work experience. We want to hear about what you've done, where you've been, all that type of stuff. The personal statement, that is something that's very important because we want to see what your fit is for the program. You know, is this a good fit? Have you thought about why it's a good fit? You know, I met with a student earlier today that looking at global supply chain management, has a military background. He had a very well thought out rationale for why he wanted to pursue the program. So I want to stress that because we have some students that come in and they're like, oh, I want to apply for this program or this program. Well, you got to think about what you want to do and why you want to pursue it. Okay. And I can help with that. If it's EMBA, Emily can help with that. But it's important to kind of think out and tease out why you want to pursue it, because we want to see that fit there as well. And then a current resume, and then for international students who didn't graduate with a degree from the US, do need to submit TOEFL or IELTS scores. So that's something important to keep in mind as well. And then next steps, I mentioned this, I want to reiterate it though. This was high level. It's a lot of information. Every one of you have a different situation you're coming from. You have an individualized scenario. Whether it's course waivers for the MBA, whether it's your experience, whether you have a couple programs that you're looking at, or whether you don't have any idea, that's okay too. And that's really what this session is meant for, to think about and look at and determine what you might want to pursue. So definitely we're willing to meet one-on-one and follow up. That happens very, very often in terms of following up and then pursuing that. So that is something we can work towards as well in terms of, just having that follow-up conversation to see what's a good fit for you. So that's going to wrap up kind of the presentation piece of this. I do want to, I'm going to leave up this slide here just so folks can take down that contact info. But Baylin, if you could just jump in, introduce yourself. I think you're done, right? Is it official? You're all done with the management, MS management, and then highlight the fellowship program if you could for me, because I didn't spend any time on that, but just your experiences with that as well.
Yes, hello, my name is Belen. I am an international student from Ecuador. I am currently coursing my last semester at RIT, and I am actually done right now, which I am really happy about. I am part of the MS in Management program, which is now replaced by MS in Supply Chain Management. And I was part of the Leadership Fellows program. This program consisted in a 50% scholarship, and what the program did was pair me with different mentors who are people in the business industry. You get one mentor per semester, and it's really enriching experience. It helps you a lot. You can ask them for advice or help on any topic of your interest, and they're always willing to help. It doesn't even matter if they are if they have set up a meeting with you. Sometimes you can just text them or ask them a quick question. It's really, really helpful, and it also helps you build connections. I think the only requirement to be a part of the fellowship is submitting a short essay explaining why you're a leader and why you want to be a part of the program. And I am not sure about the deadline, but I think it's around March, which is how it was when I applied for it. But yeah, it's a really great experience. The only commitment you have is that you have to meet once a week with the people in the program. This program is led by Molly McEwen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right. But she's really great, and she is very helpful and understanding. It doesn't bother at all with your exams or quizzes. So it's very, very helpful, and it's a very useful program.
Thank you, Baylin, and congrats on finishing up. That's awesome. Good for you. We're going to miss you, but I really appreciate your work, and thanks for jumping on tonight. So the fellowship program, Baylin did a good job, really good job of highlighting that. And then I do want to call attention to questions, so I'm going to jump into the Q&A in just a second. But if you have questions, feel free to put those in the chat there, or again, as we get into that, you can vocalize those. I think the only thing that I'll add is, if you're interested, just reach out, let me know. I can give you the website info. And Baylin's right. It's just a written statement that you submit in addition to your application. You can do that as part of the application process or after you're accepted. That's fine. The deadline is we typically indicate mid-March on the website, but we actually pushed it back last year because of COVID. I think we'll probably keep it at mid-April in terms of the fellowship itself. Really, any of our programs, obviously outside of the EMBA, can be considered for the fellowship. We indicate specific programs on the website, but if you were doing business analytics and had an interest in the fellowship, you could still pursue it. And it is very competitive. I think we have a cohort, typically about 10 students across all of our programs that pursue that. And we had 130-ish start this past year. So it is competitive. Not all those students apply for it, obviously. I think we had 30 or so apply this past year. So it is a really strong resume builder. And again, that 50% scholarship is big too. So that's another piece as well. But at this point, I certainly want to open it up for Q&A for folks who have questions. And if you have questions that you want to ask, I can stay on after if I need to too. But anybody have questions that they want to vocalize or put in the chat for us?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah, Cameron, go ahead.
For the 4+1 MBA program for partner schools, is there potential for need or merit-based scholarship beyond that automatic 40% for next summer and fall?
So that is a very good question. So potentially yes, but I can't commit to anything. So we have worked with students in the past who, if we give, if we give an additional amount of scholarship, they're willing to come. So in the past, we have done that. Oftentimes we don't go above that 50% mark though. Typically, like that's the biggest we do. And again, if you apply, you're not limited to that 40% either. And I should have started with this, but if you do, if you're a really, really strong student, one of the best, and you fit that kind of percentile rank of where we typically give that 50% scholarship, then you can get that 50%. So there is more that you can seek out. There's no really need-based stuff that we give. It's really all merit-based at the grad level. So there is some wiggle room from that 40% mark, but not a ton. We rarely go to 60% scholarships. In some cases, but not often. But there is a little wiggle there if we need to, and we can certainly discuss that further as we need to going forward.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Cameron, what school are you at right now?
I'm at St. Lawrence.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. Okay. Other questions that folks have on anything, the application process, student experience, because Baylin is on the call. Any questions about the EMBA, anything like that? No? Okay, well, all good. All right. So I did record this, so I will send it out to everybody. So you can certainly revisit it and go back and check it out. But if you have questions, please feel free to reach out directly to us. We can certainly touch base. I'll leave my direct contact info in the chat as well. The grad bus email gets to me that was in the PowerPoint, but I'll leave my direct contact info here too. But thank you guys for jumping on tonight. We really appreciate it. And stay healthy. Happy holidays with Christmas coming up, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks.
Hey.